Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank you for taking the time to join us today for the screening of The Whole and the crosstalk between directors and the lead actors. As the MC has introduced, we will be screening Whole, and we will have a crosstalk between the director and the lead actors and the participants. The event itself is co-organized by the Sasakawa Peace Foundation and the Kobe Foreigners Friendship Center, KFC. On the stage of the scene of the film is in Kobe, and I believe that tremendous cooperation has been extended by KFC, and we're a bit removed from the venue of the film. We wanted you to have a chance to see the film, and so we have organized this program. My name is Itsu Adachi, Executive Director of the Sasakawa Peace Foundation. I oversee mainly the Asia projects and programs. We have the director of the film, Mr. Bilal Kazoe, and the two lead actors, Mr. Usman Kazoe and Mr. Kai Sandi, who are with us. We would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to them. The Sasakawa Peace Foundation, since 2008, has taken up such themes as the acceptance of foreign workers and refugees, cross-border migration within Asia, and coexistence with a view to realizing multiculturalism in Asia. So we have had a high interest in initiatives related to Asia, and we've conducted different activities. Since 2011, the project has focused on the importance and significance of the Japanese government's project to accept refugees by resettling them in third countries and smoothing the resettling process. And we thought about what we could do, and we continue to think about this. And so there are various organizations and individuals involved in this area. So in collaboration with them, we continue to explore. And in particular, research and public-private multi-sector dialogues are what we have organized. Through the series of activities in the past year, the Sasakawa Peace Foundation's Asia Middle East program has identified as one of its key areas of focus realization of inclusive societies. I personally have worked for many years for JICA, the Japan International Cooperation Agency, and I came here a few years ago, and especially centered around Southeast Asia and Asia. I was involved in peace building and other activities, and because of these activities and because of the disparities within Asia, and there's a lot of movement of people, and each society has a multitude of diverse personal resources, and at the same time they're wondering how to create a stable society, and they are grappling with this issue. And in particular, within Japan, we cannot structure society without foreigners. And so this is not something that we're looking at passively. Going forward, various experiences and various lineage and experiences, people of this background will become members of a society. And how do we get them to be active and successful? How do we get them to leverage their personalities to engage in city building? These are problems that we are faced with. The film this time asks in-depth questions, and it's one of the scenes that we encounter on a daily basis. And the Japanese, could they change their way of thinking? This is a very important theme which confronts us through the film. And switching gears, the KFC, the Kobe Foreigners Friendship Center, is co-sponsoring this program. And on the ground, more than ourselves, they have been involved in creating an inclusive society in the regions. From 2020, they're participating in our Building Models Toward Inclusive Society in Asia project. We have started these initiatives, and the KFC is collaborating in many ways. From 2020 to 21, through the research and study on social integration of refugees in East Asia, through this KFC interviewed refugees about what they felt good about their life in Japan and the challenges they face. They have conducted very detailed interviews on the ground, and so that is the kind of cooperation we've got from KFC. And as I said, since last year we started a new project, the Building Models Toward Inclusive Society in Asia project. And last year we focused on conducting a fact-finding survey on multicultural community services provided by local governments and international associations. So various services are being provided, but how much do people know about this, and do they think it's really effective? That is what we wanted to explore, and hence the fact-finding survey. And there are self-supporters who are engaged in support activities among residents and foreign backgrounds, and we focused on them in conducting the interviews. Today's crosstalk is part of these joint activities between KFC and SPF. And today, after the screening of whole, we will have a crosstalk between Mr. Kazoe Bilal, Mr. Usman Kazoe, and Mr. Kai Sandi, and the participants. The crosstalk will be moderated by KFC's president, Mr. Kim Song-il. With regard to the production of this film and the memorable scenes in the film, we hope to have different views and comments, and a frank exchange of views. We hope there'll be active discussions. And I'd like to conclude and have this film screened. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming to this event. As Mr. Adachi introduced, I will try to keep my remarks very short. But briefly, I would like to talk about the background which led into the culmination of this project. At Sasakawa Peace Foundation, we have 5 priority objectives, especially at our Asia Islam group. We would like to work on enhancing understanding on Islamic countries and improving the relationship there between. So we would like to have cross-cultural inclusivity, as well as enhancing the understanding in Japan about the inclusivity. Since 2008, we have started working on realizing the inclusive society together with the people's movement, especially from the 2016. Japanese government began the settlement for refugees in 3rd countries. So together with the onset of this project at our forum, we have worked on pilot projects, study what are the challenges. We organized a symposium to enhance the dialogue and mutual understanding. So the refugee quota should be increased to 500. That was our recommendation. So the concrete ways of going about it. We have formulated the recommendation for the proposal for bettering the better reception of refugees. It was uploaded by various means, and it is on display at the outside. So since 2011, we have increased, since 2014, we have increased the platform building for the comprehensive communication for international migration. We have liaised with the Human Rights Working Group based in Jakarta. This is the actual immigrants like Philippines or Indonesia. They immigrate to Hong Kong and Taiwan as domestic help, or maritime workers, seafarers. So the actual immigrants participated in this project so that they can communicate what they want to tell the world. We call it BBC. It's not the British Broadcasting Corporation, BEBSC, BEBC. So I hope that you will look into this group, and then you will be able to get access to the report that we have issued and other products that we have created in this project. Now, collaboration with the foreigners communities from 2020 and onward, we have collaborated with the Kakehashi, which is the Filipino community. We have created handbooks in Japanese, English, and Tagalog. It is a guide for the young people living in Japan. Also, those Filipinos who would like to immigrate to other countries, to these people, we have the Commission Filipino Overseas. There is a government organization, CFO. So we invited people from CFO so that we organize seminars and symposium. We have pamphlets and leaflets regarding this organization. So please please look at them. So we have begun the building models towards inclusive society in Asia. This is the project. It's a 5-year project. The objective is that we know that we are living in a new era of people-to-people exchange or people movement. So there can be various models existing in today's world. So we can have self-help and public help, as well as the mutual help. We can promote the liaison between the sending countries and receiving countries, so that we can have the inclusive society, inclusive to the foreign immigrants. There are so many things that I want to introduce. So today I would like to talk about the relationship with the KFC. I would like to introduce to you what we do in collaboration with them. This was done. This is the report published the last fiscal year. The administration and the international exchange associations do organize various lessons like language studies and so forth. So regarding those activities, what about the stakeholders? What are the opinions and awareness of the stakeholders regarding those programs? We surveyed the awareness. We had focus group discussion. We conducted hearing about those activities. The result is this. Regarding the service provided by the administration for the cross-cultural services, they think that it is significant, it is useful, while they are not aware of what kind of programs that they offer. So this fiscal year, bearing those results in mind, we wanted to have the connection between the stakeholders and the international exchange associations. So we wanted to deal with the front runners and so-called self-supporters. We listened to their views. We conducted interviews, and then we created a dialogue forum of the administration and the stakeholders of foreign roots. So with the KFC, if you go to a web page of a KFC, there is what is called the front runner page. The Kansai Brazilian community representative's interview is posted on the web. I hope that you will access this web page. Going forward, we will have a better exchange with self-supporters, as well as we would like to verify what is being offered. So, building models towards inclusive society in Asia. Regarding this project, we have cooperation of many people and many organizations. I want to thank them for their cooperation. Thank you very much for your kind attention. After this, we will commence the screening of the movie Whole.
I'm the most nervous, perhaps, but with SBF, we've co-organized this program. I'm president of Kobe Foreigners Friendship Center, KFC. The name is very long, so you could call it KFC. The Kobe Foreigners Friendship Center is known as KFC, but we're not Kentucky Fried Chicken, by the way. And before we start the crosstalk, I'd like to talk about the purpose of all of this. If you've probably looked at the film, and I'd like to share with you the following. I hope that you found it interesting. The issues related to foreigners and minorities are such that we feel very comfortable watching it if it empathizes with these people, and it's significant, but it's very interesting at the same time. And then we have Mr. Bilal Kawazoe, who's the director, and also the script and was written by and. Also, he's the lead actor, Mr. Usman Kawazoe, and the introvert Kai Sandy in the film. But in the film, he's an introvert, but he's an extrovert. And so we have really outstanding participants for this crosstalk. It's true to form of Sasakawa. I've written a memo here about foreigners with foreign roots suffer from stereotypical treatment, and they are hurt. And so what can we do so that people of different origins do not find it uncomfortable to live in a society? And this is what we organize this crosstalk for. And in the crosstalk, self-support and self-portrait is mentioned. And self-support was hard to interpret, the interpreters said when we talked to them earlier. We worked together with a South Korean NGO, and the parties leverage their own strength to support themselves. This is what self-support is. And minority and majority, they're all parties involved. But what can they do? We want to think about this during the crosstalk. So, to the three participants of the crosstalk, I'd like to have them briefly introduce themselves and the developments which led to the production of Whole, and what they thought about and what they gained from this. Maybe we could start with Bilal-san. How do you do? I'm the director of Whole. My name is Bilal Kawazoe. Thank you very much for coming this evening. Opportunities such as this one, a screening of the film, has been organized by Sasakawa Peace Foundation and others, and I'm very grateful to all who have been involved. This film is such that in 2018 we filmed this, and before we filmed this, my younger brother went through an discussed identity and mixed roots. He said he wanted to focus on these in the film, and that is what triggered the production of this film. And so we did some research, And we found that there was no film that treated the subject. So I felt a sense of mission, and I decided to write a script on a full scale concerning this film. Thank you. My name is Usman Kazae. Nice to meet you all. I wrote the script for Hall, and I acted as Makoto in the film. And I'd like to thank you very much for coming. I don't know how to put it, but I have a very similar view to that of Bilal. We filmed this in 2018, and we're at 2023 at the moment. Very frankly speaking, the script that I wrote and the film that we created with a lot of effort has been seen by so many people, and we did not foresee this at all. And I'm full of gratitude, actually. But I live in Japan on a daily basis, and I have some dissatisfaction, and I wonder about why things are the way they are, and I have a lot of feelings such as these. And I was wondering how I could put this out as an output. And I'm not very good at communication, and so I felt that making a film to put this out what might be one method. The documentaries that I have seen up until now, or films about the hafus, the so-called hafus, I felt was not quite right. And so I wanted to come up with something more realistic. A film scene from my perspective is what I wanted to make, and that was what triggered the production of this film. How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Kai Sandy. I played the role of Haruki. Thank you for coming. Now, how did I become involved in this? A friend of Usman's, was such that I used to go to an international school. And so Usman's friend, I met at some event once, and he or she contacted me, and he told me that there's a friend called Usman and is looking for a half actor. Can I connect you? And I said, that's okay. And then I forgot about it for a while. I live in Nagoya. That's where my home is. I went to a rose garden in Nagoya, and I was looking at roses, and Usman called me up, and he said that he wanted to film an outstanding film, and he described it. And because of the power of the roses there, perhaps, I felt that I had to do this. And ever since then, I've become friends with the other two here, and that is the feeling with which I became engaged. I look forward to having discussions with all of you. Thank you. It was a very short self-introduction. I would like to ask you the following. There are a lot of impressive scenes in the film as director, as lead actors. What are some of the memorable scenes? Start with Sandy-san, or who should we start with? Yes, I can start. Yes. Very frankly speaking, memorable scenes. There's not much of those, actually. Very frankly speaking, the project as a whole was very impressive and memorable. We filmed in 5 days, and so the 5 days were really all very memorable. And what I experienced up until that point was all put into the script. And so the script was such that 12 people made a film out of it. And so everything was very impressive and memorable. And so it's hard to decide which scene was most memorable. Thank you. And Sandy-san. Memorable. Well, the ramen shop. The scene there remains in my mind. Before we shot the scene, I talked a lot with Bilal and Usman, where we have foreigner roots, and when you have these roots, that kind of conversation is something that we go through almost every day, most probably. And I'm the complete opposite of Haruki. I always make jokes out of it, and I say I was really born in, yes, that's true, and I was born in Nagoya, and so on and so forth. I make a gag out of everything. And through the dialogue with Haruki, I met someone who's not myself, who's a half, who's different from me, but I found out something new about him, and also a multicultural aspect of myself, which I did not understand, was brought home to me, and that was impressive.
Well, my younger brother said, as he said, memorable scenes. Actually, I don't have many memorable scenes. It was a low-budget film, and every day we filmed. So the completion was our mission, and my head was filled with the mission of completing the film. After filming, as I looked back, there were some memorable scenes, memorable things. The title, Whole. There is a scene 2 times of moon in the sky at night. And frequently asked the question is, why did I shoot moon? Well, actually, when script was written temporarily, Hanbun or half, I think that was the provisional title of the movie. But then we changed the title to Whole later on. As a matter of fact, we didn't explain, but in the film, moon represents Haruki and Makoto. What they feel is symbolized by the scene of moon. After filming, what I realized was this. What is moon? If you look up in the sky, at times moon comes in different shapes, but actually the moon itself is always whole. It's not partial. It's a whole. It's the same as identity. I thought that was the message that I wanted to tell to the audience and viewers. You are viewing the film. You are an individual. You are a whole. You own one whole identity. So that was the message I wanted to impart. That was the message that I wanted to imbue in the cuts of Moon. And come to think of it, I think that scene is most memorable. Thank you. Now then, we'd like to have comments and questions from the audience. We have the simultaneous interpretation between English and Japanese. Amongst you, regarding the scene, you want to ask a question about this particular scene, or that particular scene was very memorable and so forth, can you raise your hand and you can talk about it? The staff will bring the microphone to your place. So we would like to hear your comments. Anybody to propose or present a comment? Thank you very much. I come from Kobe, so the Kobe dialect sounded very familiar. Now, in the movie, the distinction or the in front of a shrine, I think there is a conversation and then a distinction. The word is used, kubetsu in Japanese, and it is not discrimination, but it is kubetsu, distinction. Well, sometimes kubetsu is something that appears, just like a discrimination. Did you mean the same thing as a discrimination, or did you have a different meaning in the word distinction? or kubetsu in that scene in front of the Shinto shrine? Thank you very much for your question. Bilal is of the same idea, I'm sure. Regarding this topic, we thought about it. And having done so, we came to realize that up until now, I had certain experiences living in Japan. I was told certain things to me. It was not the discrimination. I always think that there is no malicious intention in making such comments. It's not discrimination. Naturally, we are treated differently. Difference. And as Kim-san mentioned, it's a microaggression. So that is something that we have to differentiate. Otherwise, we will turn to discrimination and meaning becomes different. We wanted to we wanted to use the distinction. I had discussion with my elder brother and we came to that opinion. Yes, exactly, I agree. Yes, may I add? Distinction or difference, making difference. It's a clear, outright discrimination is not depicted in the film, but discrimination does exist. Why did we depict in this way, like outright hate? Why didn't we pick it up? In this film, we didn't want to emphasize the fact that we are the victims. If you emphasize being victims, the message becomes different. The message will not be communicated to the viewers. The hate crime exists. Discrimination exists in the world. But I deliberately did not depict that in the film. One more person, yes, raising a hand. Yes, yes, that gentleman in the center aisle. Yes, please. Thank you very much. Bilal-san and Mr. Kim had the discourse, and now I understand. I'm half, I'm double. In the film, the message is different. But as a matter of fact, an individual as a whole should be accepted. I think that is the central theme of this movie whole. So that was the first question I wanted to ask, but the answer was already given. So to the Japanese people, what is the message? As a whole person, as an individual, we should accept every person. But in the film, at the workplace, there is a lunch scene. Where are you from? Which half are you? That was the question given to Usman-san, and then the answer is my father is from Mexico. In ramen shop, middle-aged man asks, are you half? And then the Kai-san answers double. This middle-aged woman or lunch, the person appearing in the lunch scene, it's ordinary Japanese. It's very ordinary Japanese, very natural Japanese. So their Japanese life is so homogeneous. So half or double or whole, whatever the case, people want to find out about it. So this society, do we have to change this as a society? Or as Usman-san said, he told Sandy Kai-san, accept that. Accept that. It's a matter of fact. It's a natural thing, so please accept it. I think that was one of the dialogue that Usman-san said in the film. So we Japanese, it's not half, but we completely accept the foreign workers. In that situation, we will have a good mutual understanding and we will have to live in good terms. That is the society that we have to make. That is the challenge that we are faced in Japan now. Now in Kobe, you have KFC, and there were 3 other organizations mentioned. There are many organizations making efforts to make that society. Viewed from your side, Japanese society, do we have to change Japanese society? Is that your message from the film? as one person, we are not recognizing you as a person. Half or double, whatever the term, we are recognizing a person, as an individual. But mixed breed, different blood is included. So can you be more brief? So can you talk about it, the point that I ask?
With Usman-san, please, or Bilal, please. Thank you very much for the question. What we wanted to convey was, and I often get this question, and people often tell me this, it's like greeting people, and there is no malicious intent. We understand that when people say things certain. But the minorities that live in Japan, not only with people with mixed roots, but minorities, I believe different minorities experience the same. The moment you meet someone, you're asked, where do you come from? And people ask about your identity. And to ourselves, it's surprising. It's pretty surprising. Normally, you would expect people to talk about the weather, but we want to engage in ordinary conversation, and that is the message that's included. And rather than to be accepted, what we want to say is how the question is, how do we approach different minorities? You put yourself in the shoes of others and to try to know what's sensitive. We want to think about this together with everyone, and that's why we've put out the scene and we've included these messages. Thank you for the question. I want to add to what my brother said. How should I put it? Of course, each person has his or her different way of thinking, and people really want to simply know where people came from. But basically, myself and my brother and Kai, when we get this question, there's a follow-up question. You don't look like Japanese, or I say simply that I'm Japanese. And to that comment, there are many cases where people don't accept it. And we wanted to depict this in the film, and we wanted to show the cases as a case study. And so it's very difficult. Very simply, maybe people are asking where we came from, but to such a comment, there are people who have very unpleasant feelings about this. And when I'm asked this question in the past, I gave a different response. And presently, I give a different response. And how to respond, how I respond to the question, and what feelings I get when I receive these questions always changes. It's in a state of flux. Yes. This film has no answer. It's a film that provides no answer. The issue or the problem, the subject and the material is such that there are no clear answers. And as Usman-san said, when people ask you these questions, you want them to ask about yourself. You want to be better known by the questioner. If it's that kind of question, that's fine. But I was talking to Bilal earlier, and Bilal says when these questions are raised, then afterwards there are no follow-up questions after they know which half you are, from which two countries your origin is. And then we feel that that is all they wish to know, and they're satisfied after this finding out our origin. But in terms of my experience of growing up, I've had experiences where through these questions I've been able to engage in conversation with people. I don't dislike being asked these questions, but as Usman-san said, there are people who feel have unpleasant feelings after being asked these questions. So it's very complex. Earlier on, there was a a question in the film about which half are you, and Usuma-san, based on your experience having worked, you can you answer in any way you want, and then people are convinced that they are satisfied, regardless of what the answer is. If you try to answer the question seriously, the questioner only thinks of this as a word of greeting, but the people who get these questions are offended, saying, do you have to ask this personal question, identity question at the start? And I, as a foreigner, when people delve in and ask this and that about my house, I question whether I'm on that familiar terms with that person. With regard to impressive scenes in the film, or if you have questions about what certain scenes meant, we'd like to entertain more questions from the audience.
This is a captivating and an amazing film. I wish it would be more visceral. Visceral in the sense sharp. You're too polite. And I want to know why. I have two questions. There is a lady in the film. Why isn't she present? Is that intentional or is she working? Number two, there is the word, why did you avoid the word Jinshu Shabetsu? Is that just an error or is that intentional? Because you need an audience which reacts to this film more viscerally. That's one of the ways that the problem you're trying to get at can partly be addressed. I've been a reporter here for about 25 years with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I've roamed this country. This is a real problem. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think I will answer your second question first. So I think our first question was, I gave an answer that could be the same answer. But the reason why we presented this film this way is because we didn't want to make it seem like we are the victims. Of course, there are victims in our society that are victims of racism and discrimination. But in order to get our point across, we didn't think that was the right way. And we didn't believe that it would hold the same message as what we wanted to say. And I think it would have been counterproductive if we actually showed more visceral scenes. It was something on our mind when we were actually writing the script. We actually took it all away, and we came with these, we mainly stuck with microaggressions. And it's something that I believe that we wanted to, since we live in Japan, and this film was shot in Japan, and it's in Japanese, we believed that our audience was mainly Japanese people. And that is why we wanted to take this approach. And this is the particular approach that we took. And to answer, sorry, your first question regarding this lady, which lady did you mean? Sorry. Maybe you can.
The one who interacts with Haruki, not the mother.
Oh, Hitomi.
Oh, sorry, yeah, the younger lady.
Right.
I wanted to know, why isn't she present?
Why isn't she
in the talk?
Oh,
isn't she?
I see.
Or is she real or is she fake?
She's definitely real. I think she has other things to do. But let me just add to a little bit to your comment, Bilal. I think that we wanted this nuanced approach to this film because it's a very touchy subject. I really didn't want. How I see it is that there are people in the world who are going through racism, hate crime, and just things that are very extreme. And how I see it is in Japan, although there are cases where people experience these things, I think that the majority of biracial people here tend to experience more microaggressions than hate crime. And I think that that's our daily occurrence, and we're not experiencing any extremes. But so I guess my point is that that's the true, that is how we experience our life, and I think a lot of us experience the same thing, and that was how we wanted to approach the film. This film was written mainly through my experiences, and obviously there are other biracial people that will go through so much more, and I will never understand that because I was very fortunate to only experience microaggressions, and I think that's just how we plan to do things from the get-go.
We talked about this a lot too, and I really enjoyed, or I was really impressed by that approach when they approached me and talked about the film and took me through the film. And what I liked about it is I think a lot of films that take up this kind of issue is really kind of down your throat with the message. Like, this is the answer, or this is the problem, you know, this is how it needs to be fixed. But I think, at least from my personal experience, seeing something and feeling like you're the one that's doing that, I tend to shut off and not think about it as much because I'm like, that's not me, you know. But I think if they've made this film in such a nuanced and such a, I don't know, very delicate way, that I think it makes anybody from any point of view think about the subject, or think about what they do in their lives that could be a microaggression, and that's same for me too. So yeah, I think that's what I was really drawn to by the script in this film.
One more person in the back, and we will close this part with this question, so please bear that in mind.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. That was a fantastic movie. I'm the father of two doubles or two halves, however you want to describe them, one of whom is called Haruki, by the way, so well done on the choice of that name. I wanted to ask you about the fathers. You didn't show the fathers in the movie, and I was just wondering if there was any significance to that. And of course, both of the mothers, both the guys are very lucky, were Japanese. Was there some reason that you didn't do it vice versa? Or yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. And what are the odds that one of your kids is named Haruki? Wow. I think the reason why the fathers aren't present is, this is a bit about my personal life, but my father wasn't very present in my life during my upbringing. And I think when I was writing the script, naturally, I gravitated towards describing my mother more than the father. And as I was developing this film with my brother, we've come to the conclusion that this father figure is it's not as important as the mother figures. And because it's a short film and we need to condense the film, we couldn't really touch those subjects. So we decided to keep the mother figures and keep that the prominent roles of the film.
Thank you very much. We will go to the next segment. We have 100 people in audience, and as the host, we are so grateful to have such a large number. Now, amongst the present people, are there people who are half or quarter, including the staff members, including myself? I have similar experience as depicted in the film. How did I respond to the action made to us? Can you talk about it? I mean, stereotypical conversation is given, microaggression was imposed on you. What was your reaction? I'd like to ask the person, actually, the party. Can you raise hand? Can you talk about your own experience? Thank you very much. Today, I'm so thankful. We have simultaneous interpretation, so I'd like to ask a question in English.
Thank you so much for your movie and giving us your explanation. So regarding your question in terms of how we deal, or like people of like mixed origins deal with microaggression, so In my case, so my father is Greek, my mother is Japanese. I'm originally from Akita, which is up north. And it is the countryside, so definitely a lot of people don't see so many foreigners. So of course they're interested, and again, I do agree that it's out of curiosity. There isn't any bad intention behind it. But I do remember one thing that happened quite often was that they would, like if I was doing, walking around in the city or doing a part-time job, they would ask me, oh, so where are you from? And I would be like, oh, I'm from Japan actually. And I like to play around with them a little bit. So I'm like, yeah, I'm Japanese actually. I was born and raised here. And they're like, great. And then they would be like, no, but where are you actually from? So I'd be like, okay, well, I'm half Greek, I'm half Japanese. And I would just cut it short there. And they would be like, okay, your Japanese is great, you can speak English too. The usual. So I personally don't take offense to it anymore. I think definitely when I was younger, as a teenager, I was very confused. I also went through the identity crisis. But nowadays, perhaps because it happens so often, I just kind of roll with it. I don't take offense to it. And again, I don't believe that they're saying it out of bad intention. So I'm happy to talk about it, actually. Yeah, I mean, like, I think a lot of people from mixed backgrounds get bullied a lot in school, which was also my case. And unfortunately, my siblings had to go through that as well. Children are so mean. Sometimes I think children are meaner than adults. But again, out of curiosity, ignorance. So I think it's very important when we get those kinds of microaggressions that we don't retaliate with anger, even though it is difficult sometimes, but more from like an open, understanding point of view. I have a lot more to say, but I'll just keep it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comment from the panelists? Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I think we all here were on a similar boat at some point in our lives. But yeah, I think that I was also that angry kid at some point, and I would retaliate towards any comments towards me regarding my background. But as I get older and more comfortable with myself and confident, I realize that it doesn't affect me as much. I think that, yes, ideally, I would like to tell everyone that it's you know, not to really retaliate, but like everybody has a different way of reacting to things. And I think that an interesting thing happened to me recently where, like, I would get these comments that you saw in the film on a daily basis, pretty much still, but they wouldn't affect me at all. But what I realized is that there would be people that I've worked with for years that would ask me a similar comment that you see in the film, or make these comments that would really hurt me, because they're the same questions, but we've worked for years, and there's some sort of line between us. And so I realize now that although if it's a person that I've just met and they've asked me where I'm from, I wouldn't be affected as much. I realize that I would be extremely hurt when someone that I've known for years, that I've worked with multiple times before, would ask me the same thing when we've already had many conversations about my upbringing and so on and so forth. So that was a very interesting point that I've realized recently. And I guess my point is that we are constantly changing and we react to things differently as time progresses. And I think that's the beauty behind it. And I think it's kind of just learning to understand yourself and understand how you, well, I guess, yeah, just understand how you grow as a human, and, you know, just enjoy the ride, I guess. Yeah.
Two panelists, if you have comments, no? One more person we can ask, limited to minorities. Thank you. In terms of blood, I don't belong to minority, but I'm a reformed Muslim. So on the outlook, I became a minority.
As in the film, on a daily basis experience what can be classified as a microaggression. In terms of blood, I'm Japanese, but I am not categorized as true Japanese in terms of my appearance. So every day people think of me as a foreigner. When I go to a restaurant, people give me menus in English, and I think that is out of kindness. But then they ask me where I came from, although they're very kind to me. And as the President mentioned earlier, why do I have to disclose this information to you is the way I feel when people ask me where I come from and I say I'm from Japan. And then you married to a foreigner. Why do I have to tell you all this? That's my feeling when I get these questions. And so when I come across this situation, I become increasingly frustrated. And so I answer in a language other than Japanese that I know. But I feel that these people have no bad intent. So I very smile meekly and then give them a very ambiguous answer. And that's the way I spent my life for over 20 years. And that's continued ever since I was a child. And the children outside of Tokyo have no friends. Of course, siblings are different, but I wonder about how they manage to live. In Tokyo, there are lots of mixed people with mixed races, and then there are lots of people with one of the parents being non-Japanese. So in Japan, there's a division, but it's taken for granted that people next door have foreign roots. And in the film, the poster says, "I'm Japanese." And in the film, the actor says, "I'm Japanese." The definition of being Japanese perhaps is different between those involved and the society as a whole. And that's why, and I think of this every time I get this question, where are you from? Thank you very much. If there are comments from the three discussants. Thank you for the comment. And recently, I think about what you mentioned very often. I'm talking between the three of us now, but recently on my own, I think about this identity issue. So I'm the most sensitive about this issue among the three of us. I talk to myself and I think about this so much, and I often get this question. When in a society where diversity is more accepted, and I don't know why I get this question, perhaps because I'm a filmmaker, and people ask me, up until now, I answered in the following way. I think it's important first to acquire knowledge, to get to know things, not to study perhaps, but to meet people that are minorities, and then there are people who do not look like minorities. To come to know them is the first step, is what I say, and that's the answer I used to give. But in the past several months, I felt that that's not it. I need to think about what's necessary after that. And I think imagination is important. After you come to know things, to become imaginative. People in Japan, if they were all imaginative and were able to put oneself in other person's shoes, to imagine what they feel, I think by doing so, even to a small extent, we can share, we can have some peace of mind, and that is what I think. Yes. I'd like to talk based on my experience. When I think about identity, I do not understand 100% what my own identity is, and I surmise that perhaps it's the same for all of you here. And so, to be able to say, I am this and that, or to be able to say, I'm changing. And if you come into contact with people with this way of thinking, you do not prejudge others, and you do not define others as being this and that, if you know that you yourself are changing. And I think that communities are very important. In the film, Haruki was struggling all by himself, but then he met Makoto, and finally he came to realize that the problem was not only for himself, and the moment that he felt that, his world opened up. So a community is perhaps the most important. Thank you. Put it another way, or conversely, stereotypes, when you encounter this, the majority of the Japanese, the mainstream of the Japanese probably find it very difficult in the workplace if the colleague is doing this. From the Japanese side, if there are experiences that you've come across, if you've encountered certain situations and you responded a certain way, could you describe such situations? Is there anyone that's able to do so? Thank you very much, first of all. When I was at university, there were Japanese of Korean descent, and the person did not disclose this information, and the person's name was Japanese. So the friends did not know of the origins of the person. And when we talked about elections, he said he could not vote. And then the friend said, why are you saying that? And they accused him of not wanting to vote and blamed him for that. But I heard this, and I had a friend like him before, so I realized that he's probably a Japanese of Korean descent. And after that, I became very close to him, and I could discuss different things. But the person, when he was at university, he changed his name. And he changed to his name, which showed his identity, and I believe that was took a lot of courage. And my encounter with this person had a major impact, and so I am very glad I had this experience. Thank you. At this point, the time is very short, and so there are people from the media present, and I'm not sure whether they're still here. NHK? Yamaguchi-san from NHK, are you still here? No? Maybe he left. Mainichi Shimbun, a reporter from Mainichi Shimbun. I have a list which shows that there's a journalist from Mainichi Shimbun. Are you here? Maybe they've all left. They just saw the film and went. Is there anyone from the media? Nishi Nihon Shimbun. There. I'm not trying to blame you, but education and media have a lot of influence on how people view foreigners. So today's the film and the crosstalk, having experienced this, are there any thoughts that come to mind? Can I have some comments? Thank you very much indeed. I believe that the film was very thought-provoking. I'm a freelance director of television, and I think about what I want to communicate first and then communicate. So in a certain sense, to the audience, we ask them to make judgments and decisions. But it's very hard to structure films that way. And so I was very envious of what you did. And as for my personal experience, one of the reasons I went to work for the media is because, as was mentioned in the film, attaching labels is what I was very resistant to, and that's how I grew up. I was born in the United States, so I have dual nationality, and also I spent several years of my childhood in Europe.
So I don't know where my identity is. I returned to Japan, and then labeling was done. Japanese women should be like this and that. And after that, I went to the US to study. There again, because the Asians were labeled as model minority, and I put that into my thesis. So I felt a strong sense of resistance on many things. So in media, what can I do? When I ask this question to myself, labeling, putting labels should be done away with to the extent possible, but in Japan, people demand easy to understand explanation. So that's why people want to distinguish from other people by attaching labels, how you look, and gender difference would be another case. So labeling is done and define people. You are like that. You are like this and that. So I want to remove that. But thinking like that, removal is not so easy. As a director, I am frustrated by my own ability. Why do I making this a program? Sometimes I ask myself. I feel frustrated. Actually, in media, I don't know how to put it. Things are very old, outdated, archaic. Sorry for my lengthy intervention. Thank you very much. Maybe we can have more comments from the audience, but there is a certain time limit for this hall to be used. So I will ask the panelists to ask for their final comments. Actually, this film, last year I saw this film. This film was made in 2018. So two things. As I wrote in the pamphlet, self-portrait. You portray yourself by yourselves. As Sandy-san said, community, the very important word. Makoto and Haruki, two young men, they are the same half-bred people. However, their economic status is different. As the party, one is not unilaterally supporting another, but the Hitomi was translating the letter from the father. I think it was very interesting. So three people. Can you talk about the self-portrait and self-support? Can you talk about your ideas about self-portrait and self-support? Can we begin with what, Sandy-san? Because you are seated in the center. I see. As I said earlier on, after all, personally speaking, until I die, I will not be able to understand 100% myself. As Usman said, during life, you change constantly. So self-portrait is difficult. Self-portrait, if you can do that, that's very important. It's very important. By self-portrait, you can talk about yourself, and by talking about yourself, you can understand something new about yourself. And then how other people are looking at you, you understand as well. But societally or in social context, to minorities, there is no place for making self-portrait. There is no outlet, exit. There is no community enabling that. there is no forum like this discussing matters with friends. So when you make a self-portrait, exit route, outlet route is very important. We are the filmmakers, so we can express what we believe. So self-portrait is very important. That's what I believe.
I completely agree with what you just said. I think that finding an output will eventually help you find yourself. And I think that this film was my first film that I've ever wrote. And I think I was very ambitious and also at the same time very angry. And I had all these emotions in me about how I feel about Japan and how I feel about all these people asking me these questions and trying to put labels on me and telling me I'm a certain way when I believe I'm not. And I think that creating this film with my brother and obviously with Kai, I think I was able to find an output, an outlet, and in return, I think I was able to understand myself a lot better. And really thanks to this film, I think that I can navigate these situations a lot better now, without getting too emotional, without, you know, in return, when receiving these comments, labeling the other person as someone who is trying to attack me or so on and so forth, you know. But that's just how I feel. I feel like I was very blessed to find this medium called film, and I was able to express myself through that because I'm not really good with words, and I think that it was just the perfect way to express my experiences, my life, and how I felt at the time. Yeah.
Let me think. There was a talk about labeling which made me think of something which is connected to self-portraying. Japan is the same. All over the world, many things are happening. News are circulating so fast. And so simply and easily, we label each other. That is quite dangerous. That is what I feel recently. Now, labeling, act of labeling. Because stereotype exists, we label other people and other things. So what about stereotype? It's not destroying stereotypes, but by self-portraying, this can be one key to solve this problem. When we made our film, we have the mixed origin. We went through identity crisis, and that was the message we wanted to communicate to the viewers. That's why we made this film. But come to think of it, we are the people of mixed roots, but we should be thinking of other minorities having different reason for being minorities. Through this film, self-portrait, as well as the young generation going forward, will be able to express themselves better. Through this film, they are inspired and they can talk about their own stories. There could be many formats. But that is very important, to be able to talk about your own story. That should be there, and that should be shared by many people in terms of their thinking. Thank you very much. We want to continue discussion, but we have to be out of this hall at a certain time, so I'd like to make a brief summary of the discussion. To understand, that is the grand premise for all of us. There was a comment by the media person. Easy to understand, categorizing everything and presenting to other people. That could be one form of understanding, but that is the frequently followed paths. We talk about the cross-cultural inclusion. So the categorizing something, somebody, for example, the foreign foreigners should observe the garbage collection rules. Many people talk about it, but that is something a little different. When I had discussion with the director, what will happen at the end? Where is the father come from? Nothing is answered in the film. So we must make efforts to understand, because it's very difficult to understand. I think that was the message. Regarding Palestine, there is a major crisis happening. Returning to Haifa, it is a novel written by a Palestinian. Palestinian baby was brought up by an Israeli person and Palestine refugees. And it is a topic of rapprochement between the refugees and the Israeli people. From the moment you are born until you die, you follow just one simple creed. That is strange and that is weird. So every single persons are whole, but the appearance, the time to be applied, they are all different.
So if you could think in this way to promote understanding due to lack of time. I'm sure there are audiences who were not able to raise questions. We're sorry about that, but we'd like to close the crosstalk. And lastly, to the panelists, to the two leading actors and the director, could we have a round of applause?